This is a video on how to construct a database or an ERD diagram actually using MySQL Workbench. So after you log into MySQL Workbench, we're going to click on this little icon here to go into the designer, and then we can hit a plus sign to create a new model. Then we can add a diagram. I think it's a double click, and it pops us into a new diagram. Okay, I can rename this table whatever I want. I think I'm going to call it agent. Okay, and then I can add columns to it. So let's see what I want here. Let's say I have an agent code, which is basically the primary key for the table, and then I could add other pieces of information. I'm not going to really add very many. I'm going to add last name. So I'm going to add agent last name. Okay, it's a character, and that's good enough. Okay, that's fine. So let's move on to another table now. So the next table, let's get this out of the way a little bit. Actually, I think I will just close this tab. Okay, the next table, I'm clicking here, and I can create another table, and double click it. I'm going to call this customer. Okay, and I'm going to add a column, and I'm going to start with the primary key, and I'm going to call it code, which is a weird name. It's the primary key, it's non-null, and I'll just add one other field here. I'll add last name. Last name. Okay, and I got that. I have that table. Now we're going to connect the two tables. Okay, so there's a relationship between these two, and basically one agent can have many customers, so we're going to create the relationship between these two. Alright, I'm going to close down this tab here. I'm going to do a one-to-many relationship. I'm going to click on that. Now, you kind of do this in the reverse order. You'd think you'd go from the one to the many when you click, but you actually go from the reverse. This is the many side. You click on that first, and then you click on the other side. So we have one agent has many customers. Alright, now look at this table here. You see how it automatically added this? This is called a foreign key. If you have a particular customer, the customer has a customer code, a customer name, and the customer has an agent. In this field here, this is the field that holds the agent that this customer belongs to. So this is really an agent code here, right? This number, whatever it is referring to a particular agent. And this is what it's called, the foreign key by default. Now we're kind of matching something in the book where they want a particular name for this field, and they just called this agent code. So we will rename it agent code. Okay, so there I've created my relationship between these two things. I could add more fields, but I'm not going to do it. So the next step we're going to do is we could take a screen capture of this image, right? We could we would have the diagram. But we're going to do one more piece. We're going to go to Tools, or actually I think we go to Database. We're going to go to Forward Engineer, and we're going to see the script. We're going to capture the script for creating the database, because although we've drawn this model, we haven't really created the database. That's kind of done in a separate way. So we hit Forward Engineer, and you basically just keep hitting Next. And here we have the SQL code that creates that schema we just laid out. Let's look at it for a second. I just want to show you one part of it. Okay, not to get all hung up with the details here, but if you look at this first part, it says create this table if it doesn't exist, the table is called agent. The database is MyDB that's creating it in. And then it says, in this table you're create an agent code and create an agent name, and it tells the data type for it. It says the primary key is the agent code. Now look at the second table. This one's even more interesting. Create the table if it doesn't exist, customer, and look at this. It has the customer code, the customer name, and the agent code. Now if you remember the agent code, that was kind of special because it was a foreign key. So the next thing it says is the primary key is customer code. That makes sense. But then it says that there's this index called agent code, which has a constraint on it. This field, agent code, is a foreign key, and it must be whatever value we put into agent code, it must exist in the table agent in the field agent code. So basically what it's saying is if you went to edit the customer table and you typed in agent code 1000, let's say, you better have an agent defined for 1000, and because if you don't, you're going to get an error when you try to insert into that table. So anyway, this is the schema this is the code which will create the schema. So, you know, maybe some of the assignments say capture this script. So you could save this to a file and then do whatever you want with it. Either create a database for it typically, or maybe you're submitting it for an assignment.